Hello, and thank you for joining me. You're here with Data Science Teacher Brandyn, and we're going to discuss the histogram in plotting. Okay? This is how we get some interactive plots. Pretty cool what we can do with plotting. There's also some extra features that just make it a little bit easier to use to do some extra investigative analysis that you would need, a few extra lines of code to do in Seaborn pandas. So it's pretty handy as well, above and beyond it being just cool with the interactivity. So the syntax for this is px. So I imported, just to show this, imported plotly express as px and I'm going to give the data frame. I'm going to choose the x column. This is meant to work well with pandas. I'm going to call the x column is going to be the spending score, so a continuous variable. Width and height. What I find is the plotly, specifically on my computer, you might find this as well, it's a little bit big. So I set width and height here, which I can control and then get a good size for it as I plot all my other ones. So this is just set in advance width and height, but this is how you control the bigger size in plotting. Okay, you're going to assign this to a fig or an object. And so fig and then fig dot show to get the plot. So very similar, I guess, to matplotlib, but its own sort of syntax and style to it. Okay, so we do the show, we get our plot, we get our interactivity right here. Pretty nice. It's interesting, you can see the actual count of values in each one of the bins. Okay, so we can control the number of bins with n bins equals to 30. Now we have more bins here. We can change the color like we can in Seaborn with the hue argument. We can control the color of the categories with the color equals our category column right here. Okay, so I'm going to do by age bin into the groups of age 0 to 20, 20 to 24, 40 to 65, 65 plus into those groups right there. Okay, so now we get some different color and we can inspect. It's really cool. You can inspect now the individual count by color and really by category and then understand that. So it really just gives you a lot of extra detail. And this is where you'd want to use the plotly plot versus say Seaborn or pandas to get really this extra detail to be able to inspect it a little bit more. Just kind of spend some time with the plot instead of just that high level glance that you get often with Seaborn where you're just like, okay, what should I investigate more? This allows you, gives you the ability right away to start investigating. Okay. After that, a really cool feature that's kind of unique to Plotly, or well, I haven't seen it anywhere else, is how we set this hist function. So with the hist plot, we can see count by default, it counts the plot, and it's counting the times of the distribution spending score falls between 40 and let's say 42, and it falls in this bin. How many times does it fall in this range? And we count how many times it falls in this bin. We can, with Plotly, change the y variable, so we're still going to bin it based on the spending score. But in these bins, it's not going to be a count anymore. It's going to be the average of the work experience. It's kind of interesting here because you really see a very, very different plot just looking at the 100, the highest age group, have a much higher average work experience than the values that are counted. So you can get a lot of extra detail. Really depends what you'd want to inspect here. It could be, could be hard to find a way to analyze this properly, but this is just one example of looking for a smaller group. We really wanted to see the impact of their overall work experience in terms, in comparison to the rest of the group. Okay? It's very, very interesting that we could do that. Another cool feature is that although with Seaborn you can change the color, with Plotly we can do that as well. We can take it a step further and actually change the pattern style right here. So what we're doing is we're changing the pattern style and shape. Here by gender, you see it's adding this kind of dashed line. If you have more categories, we'll add even more, but now we have an extra level of detail that we can go just on our Histogram. Okay? And we can also add in marginal equals box, and you can just put the box plot right at the top. You see this sometimes with a Seaborn plot, but you actually have to put a histogram above into a matplotlib subplot and then put a histogram down below. This happens automatically with Plotly. This is a really handy feature, and if you wanted to inspect your data with the box plot and the histogram to get a sense of the outliers and stuff, this is a really good tool to use to do that quick and easy. And one last thing we can do that's also really handy with Plotly is the text auto equals true. So this is going to do the value counts, the count of the bar. So how many counts are actually in the bin. This is, again, it's an extra step that you'd have to do, a few lines of code that you'd have to do in Seaborn or Pandas, and it just happens automatically here in Plotly. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me today, and I will see you next time.